let's look at the structure. What I did here was I added blue and red lines, taking some liberty because of the metal that goes across in the critical shear zones, right? Critical shear areas and the tributary areas, critical zones where they'll puncture. They appear to have, in this drawing, the 16.5 by 19.5. I'm very specific about saying this drawing because not all drawings have puncture protection written up like that. So, in this drawing of 11 foot 10 and 11 foot 10, that's the pool deck and the parking garage are the same elevation. They show that the reinforcement is of such. If you scale this, you might come up to 3 foot out there, 4 foot out there, and 4 foot this way. Okay, all the way around there. With that said, it's not balanced in every direction. For example, this is 19.5s. These are 16.5s. 16.5s, 18.5s. They start reducing here by 1 rebar. Here's 16.5, 16.5. See, it gets reduced in 2 directions of 16.5s here. Well, you also have a shorter span before you get back to this BMA back here that connects the, see if I can zoom in for you, that connects the other BMA. This BMA being the mostly loaded BMA between all of these because it has a span of the weight of this one and the weight of this one inside this area here to take the loads from 2 sides, including the porches, the elevated porches. All right, tributary areas, offset columns, just a lot of craziness. So let's first talk about, initially they were going to run a BMA straight down here, remember, into the wall. So initially they were going to have a BMA all the way to the wall. And that would look something similar to this. Let's just take liberty here and do this. Let's elongate it out to there. It's going to connect to that one here. See that? I want to leave that open for you to see, to visualize. It was going to, so if we move this over, you see the span was from here all the way to the wall. That's a big span. So they decided that, you know what, we don't like that span that much. Let's go ahead and let's add an interrupting load-bearing BMA, if you will. It's probably going to be a BMA right there. And now our span is from here to here, the largest span of all these spans, from here to here. And then the next largest one is out to the wall. So that would have gone over there. And I'm going to take some liberty. I'm going to move it over just a little bit for you so you can see the column there. And that went that direction. The cars are going to come here and load. The pool deck was going to load from this side. It was going to be like this. So pool deck. And this would be the car deck up here. So your cars would be here. As you look from the back of it. So there's your cars. So there were going to be 4 cars parked there, thereabouts. Okay, grab that car. So 4 cars over there. That load is going to transfer into this here with steel. It was going to have a couple of pieces of steel inside there. And then it was going to have some steel down here. And to keep those two to help maintain them together, in case this one tried to drop down at the mid-span here, they were going to put stirrups. Let's do this. And I can make it smaller, I believe. They were going to put stirrups in there to help hold together some more steel. And as you load this side here with human trafficking, I love to say that, it was only supposed to be about 40 pounds per square foot. So PSF, all right, PSF, public service fucks. Anyway, and then this was also supposed to be, well, the same, 40 pounds, except for their vehicle loading, and you're going to exceed that when the car puts on brakes, if not just by dead load alone. So you personers even in the vehicles, but all the loads transfer to the tire loads, the base of the tires. Now the base of the tires may take their load like this and this shape like that. Let's do the tire. Let's do a little exaggeration of allow me to have a little liberty on a gapping a little bit. So there's your tire loads that come down like that, right? So they're the tire loads are like that. And they taper off, but in a 9-inch concrete, maybe they don't taper off at all. They just present themselves at the bottom of the concrete. As you notice, loads, as I told you guys, loads like to go on 45s like that, right? They love that. There's a couple exceptions. Bolt loading doesn't quite do 45s. They do a different cone when you bolt load when you're having bolts. But they like that. They like the loads to look like this. That's how they like tapering off. So if I put a car on the side of a hill that's straight, and the dirt was just straight like this, the soil was just like that, we would see it fracture off. It would just fracture off part of the soil there. You just don't get to put it there without locking it in. And they lock it in with bulkheads, retaining walls, fabric systems. You lock it in a bunch of different ways. Sorry, that's not quite a fabric, is it? So, but it's still here on this concrete deck. As these cars come across this section here, they put that stress like that. And if you look at the column, when we look at the column, you see that there's a fracture that looks like that. And so let me take some liberty. It looks like that. So our car tires coming across. Well, when they get close to there, there's a shear point here, a connecting point that it will no longer shear down. So this helps you visualizing the shear, right? That helps you visualizing it a little better. Those forces are there. They're out here also, but they're everywhere where the tire is just standing even dead load. It's still a stress there. This just helps you understand it. All right. Now, if I really overloaded it, if I could really overload, the one vehicle, which I'm not saying happened, then it would create a more concentrated load across there, and that can cause this failure to happen all in one shot, right? If I could figure out what the max is. All I need to fail, not so much the rebar, but that little bit of concrete that's in the rebar's top surface. Remember, the rebar here is presenting itself. This is a cutaway as up at the top of the concrete, not at the bottom. There is some bottom steel, but mostly at the top. There's a couple of long pieces sticking out on this side in the middle column. That would be this one. I saw some long threaded ones coming out of there. But over the years, the deck is cycled. They covered it over with a concrete layer so they can't see it, the concrete layer being stamped concrete all out here. And on this side, so you can't observe the deck, they put that wasn't their intent, but maybe it was, so they didn't have to look at the cracks. Perhaps there were cracks beforehand. They put a pavered system over top with more concrete. It seems like the concrete exceeded the original designers' 40 pounds per square feet design. So when they go after this original designer, yes, he removed the BMA, but he also made it clear that 40 pounds per square foot was his intent. 40 pounds per square foot doesn't seem to have changed anywhere in his drawings where he says, now you can give us, 40 more exceeding 40 pounds per square foot. And they seem like they did that with the deck loading of the materials, the concrete overlay, which is stamped, and then the concrete and the weight of the pavers. So it seems like they exceeded it without even allowing human trafficking onto the deck. Yes, again, I love to say human trafficking. All right. So over here, the original intent was to have another BMA, right, to take the traffic. So the only difference for these two BMAs is the elevation change and the loading of the vehicles. So you ask yourself, well, what was their intent? Was it just elevation change? And so he can just get rid of these. He can get rid of the BMAs and then no harm, no foul. Well, no, that was considered because when the elevation changed, he added a couple of extra pieces of steel. I mean, it's like literally a couple extra pieces of steel and two places over here. So when he removed the BMA, he added extra steel, but very, very minimal. Now, going back to the steel, so steel is really doesn't work laterally like I'm going to imply with my circles or with my direction. So now I'm taking some liberty here, and I remember George standing on the metal, how you see it, the pull on all sides, the flex. Well, that's the deck, and I want to put back. So here's the building face right here. This is the building face. So I'm going to take some liberty here, and I'm going to stop like this. The reason why I put that little arrow there because they're tie-in at this point over here at the structure. It's a hook. They look like hooks like this. They're not. So this would be the tie-in. It's not a column over there, and they're not quite that long, but that would be the intent of it to tie into the next column. So I'll give you a different color on that. Let's go with green. And I might have to make it bigger. Maybe not. Let's exaggerate a little bit. All right, so they gave us some hooks here, and then let's do this one so it stands out also. And well, that's green. So green is kind of canceled. Okay, let's go with that. So that's the intent. Let's lift it up a little bit. So now we have a corner here that's just tied in. The slab from here to here is tied in with the rebar going from there to here. What I'm trying to get at is they made transfer beams, those beams, out of steel, but very minimally so. They used the 16.5s in the drawings. He states from center line of the column to start from. So 16.5s going this direction. This is 19.5s. 19.5s going this direction. You would start from the center and you would go 9.5 out this direction and 9.5 out this direction. I believe he stated 13 inches on center. So basically you're going to get one piece of steel starting on center, down the center there, because your 13 inches now puts the next piece of steel out here. And 13 inch on center from a 12-inch column puts the other one out there. So you're basically getting one piece of steel that's over top of the head there, along with the rabbit ears, right? So we saw the rabbit, you know the rabbit ears, the four of them. So by doing is on center, start from on center, on the out here, you're getting one piece over the head. One piece over the head into the deck. That one piece over that one, for example, would be, and I took liberty, I showed two pieces here. But let's use the one piece and let's make that much larger just for scale reasons, just for us to be able to see it. So that one piece goes all the way over. 19.5s and over here 19.5s. The problem is it says start from the center line. This is a jog. So the center line from here is here, and the spacing, where's my measurement? Great. They didn't break at 13 inches. It didn't break there, so they bypass each other. That or the contractor says, you know what, that's just ridiculous. I'll make them connect. I'll wire them together. So let's just say they wired them together. That puts that steel all the way out to here. Going back to that steel here, let's move this over a little bit, and I'll do this one. That way we can see them both together. So there's the BMA here, That's the steel we're referencing here. That's that steel. Let's see if I get that right. Yep, I believe that's it. I believe that's K, and there's L, and that's M. So that's the K line, which is a train, right? So the K line go K9. The K line comes this direction. See the offset here? That's offset is written in the other one. So wait a minute. So let's go back to this one. So there's your straight steel. Remember they used BMAs here at one point, but now there is no BMA. So the straight steel is there. This steel coming across this direction, oh, there's the jog. It's 6 foot off center. So 6 foot off center. That's 60 inches. 13 does not go into 60 inches 5 feet evenly. It goes into 12 inches evenly. But they call that 13, and maybe they changed it to 12. This is going to be, it still won't be relevant enough for us. That just get because I already said that the contractor says, you know what, I'm connecting these two together anyway. 1 inch off or 2 inches off by the time you get out there. Whatever it is, he just said, I'm connecting it. Straight steel all the way across these columns, all the way over to here. Let's just say he did that. So that's your straight steel bolted up, number 5, all the way over. Well, this direction where the cars load up to, cars load up to here. They load up to here. There's that one that breaks free and turns the flower, rotates the flower pot. I'm sorry, the deck breaks free. When the flower planter box goes down, it takes a rotation on this planter box, and the rotation rotates the planter box clockwise. I don't think this thing can do clockwise, but let's see if it can. So it rotates the planter blocks clockwise. Let's see if we can show colors. Nope. I'll just do that. So it rotates the planter box clockwise, and I'm taking liberty on the amount it rotates it. And that's because it rotates on top of this one here, and also the deck rotated down here more so than here. So we get that. And the planter box is actually way over there, but maybe I shouldn't have taken that much liberty. Maybe I should have taken more liberty like this, perhaps. Okay, so those are plants. And then you see your planter box here. All right, so let's move it off to the side for now. So as you load here, the loads are pulling in this direction, like you saw George. It's acting as a nice little platform, but not really, because the steel is also its main bars. The main bars. No one answered that in the previous video I did. What's the main bars? Well, the engineer states this is a two-direction or two-way slab that if you press here, it's going to pull equally everywhere, not in one direction. It's going to be nice and uniform, sort of like this, as you load here. But wow, what happens when you get out to here, when the vehicles turn and they come, say, right there? So it's going to equally load. Let's just do this. Whoa. Now I'm taking my own finite element drawing program here, and let's say it equally loads. Great, that's 2 for 2 now. Let's just extend that out. Now it equally loads there. That would be a point load though, the tire, right? So the car is not loading quite there. It's where the tires are loading. So I need to make a box and make little tire loads for you, because I can't tie these in otherwise. So as the cars come in, and I can make it smaller, which makes it a more focused load. As the cars come in, it's a 4-point load. You see the 4-point load coming in? They come close to this one. The right turn, he puts on his brakes, she puts on his brake, and then they slam on brakes again. Well, that's offset now. So this is offset. So the steel that it's loading and pulling on is actually pulling over here already, because there are no beams here. And there's only one piece of steel connecting these columns. Maybe this is the larger column. So two pieces of steel connecting this together. But on this side, there's only one piece of steel connecting together. So over here would be the stronger side to be on, and this would be your weaker side. Let's make the car even smaller. So as you come in, you load that one piece of steel that's coming across here. And as you load it, I'm going to exaggerate here. I'm going to grab it, and it flexes. Well, it flexes down on this one. This one resists, but not for free. It pulls on this column. And over many cycles, let's see, do I go further? No, because that's no, the flower box is sitting here. So it cycles it, and it cycles, and it cycles for 40 years. And you can't see it because they covered it many years ago. Maybe it was 96, they did the stamped concrete, but it appears they did the planter box in 96. I forget when they did the stamped concrete. And so they come over here and they back their cars up over to here, because there's a planter box. And then there's another planter box back here on the back wall. Great. So there's another planter box back here that's pretty hefty. It's 4 feet, full of whatever it's full of, plants, trees, bushes. It's full of water, whatever the years have brought. This is covered. This is a BMA. This column here is covered by the deck, so I can actually drive over top of it. I'm sorry, the planter box is right there. So I drive next to it, and I park right there. Let's put the planter box back in now. So planter box is right about here. Great. So I drive next to it. Vroom, vroom, vroom. I'm loading this side of those 2 rabbit ears. I'm sorry, the 2 rabbit ears go this direction and this direction. So I'm not quite loading them. I'm loading that one piece of rebar going this direction. Oh, wait a minute. That's offset by 8 inches. Oh, great. So I don't even load this equally. I'm pulling partially on this one and partially on this one, but not equally across each one of them because these columns are offset. So I load this one here. As I'm loading this one, I'm tearing at the outside corner of this one a little bit because they're 8 inches apart as I come back, and which pulls on this side. As I strain it, I come across. Now I transfer the loads back to this one. So this whole staggered system is what I'm driving at, creates a form of perforation just as you load the vehicle. It's not going from one tributary area to the next, nice and smooth. There's only this tributary areas that are smooth are back here, not even smooth because they're also 3-sided because they have the BMAs back here, so they connect here and with the L-shaped anchors. This one, the steel is going across this direction. There's some steel coming this way, including the transfer slab. So that's a transfer slab over here that's been reduced to 1 foot 6 inches right here. No longer 2 foot 6, so that was a greater transfer from this deck over to here. Now this is a mini one. This has now been reduced by what, 40%? I forget what I did the math on. About 40% when you drop a foot off of it, because they elevated this deck. They elevated the deck that was supposed to be down. This transfer slab here was supposed to always be 2 foot 6. The 11 foot 10 was supposed to stop here. So the building was always to have a 2 foot 6 slab elevation change. That's going to act as a nice composite beam, if you will, a larger beam, keeping these stable between each one of these columns at the parking garage. I'm sorry, keeping them more stable because they're larger. Now, depending on how they wear and tear and over time, it could be a negative, but that's more than likely not a negative if you keep the maintenance up. So we got our vehicles coming over here, pounding this side. They're stressing the heads of these guys. Remember, there's only 2 rabbit ears here, 2 rabbit ears here, and 1 piece of steel going this direction and 1 piece of steel going this direction. Some of it not even overlapping that well, as we see again with the as we see again with the steel, there's that offset, which is we know to be 8 inches. What I just pulled it up? 8 inches. 8 inches right there. That's 6 foot there. 3'6" offset here. See 3'6", 3'6" offset there. All of these offsets create these. So this is 3'6" from here to here. And yet the pool deck is the planter box is here. The planter box is going over top of this one, over, and then the planter box is here. So as the deck goes down, you can see where that part of that rotation would come easy. If it was evenly distributed and everything made sense, the planter box wouldn't rotate. But it hits the column and it rotates. It's the top of the column, and as the deck goes down, it pivots on top of the head of this column, pivoting in that direction, clockwise as we're looking at it here. So it pivots clockwise. Interesting about pivoting clockwise, isn't it? If the deck fell to your left first, because this is separated by a gate, fell down to the left. So if this fell first to the left, just by itself, would not this rotate to the left? If the area out here fell first and it was falling down, would it not grab the first part of the front of the planter box here and take it down? As it took it down, this would become your pivot point, and it would be to the right. It would seem like it would pivot to the right if the drape started here, to the right out here, and then worked its way back. Keep in mind, I am biased because this is my bias tributary, my largest tributary area. I call the largest tributary. Is it the the mostly loaded. I call it this one. Yeah. So keep in mind, I'm working from a biased position. I think it's this one I call my bias right here, this one. My bias critical shear area and tributary area being the largest tributary area, and loaded with the vehicles. This one I don't have is the largest. I believe this is the one that NIST took apart right here. There's one behind it. This is the one the firemen were playing in, incidentally, playing practice session, was this one. I believe NIST took this one, cut this one away, and this one also. Their sections, their tributary areas are smaller, both of them. Although they do have an offset. This one's offset from that one. But they threw away steel, as we saw. The 16.5s going that direction. We saw what appears to be one of them be tossed into the Neverlands, into the scrap pile. This one is my bias one. This gives me my rotating pot if I drop to the right first. If I drop to the left first, could I get this rotating to the right? There's definitely the possibility. I've played with it. I can get it happening both ways just by almost random, depending how fast you drop the deck. Looking at the rebar, the reinforcement in here, we see that there's 21 fours, and then they switch over to 24s between this area from here to here. And then they switch back to a higher 22 fours, and then down to 17 fours. This we know didn't fail, and this we also know didn't happen. The steel doesn't present itself as coming through the deck. It's time to talk about this wording. Note. It says note. Bottom reinforcement shell. It's a shell. It means a must. Be number 4 at 12-inch bottom each way. So they want a two-way slab, it says. In addition to any indicated bottom steel. Shall be, right, in addition to any indicated note. Bottom addition, right here specifically, that note is talking about this area over here. It's specific, that note is, and there it is, bottom addition. So note it says bottom reinforcement shall be number 4 at 12 inch on center, bottom 12 inch, that means on center, bottom each way in addition to any indicated bottom steel. In addition to any indicated bottom steel. So if it's not indicated bottom steel, well, here we have here 4 at 12 inch on center, 20-foot long. This is referencing this area here, not everywhere, not everywhere. This is actually specific to this location from, I believe, here to here is where we're going to get the extra steel. Right here, across this back wall, my jealous wall. Up here, outside wall, right up to the building, extra steel. So I believe the intent of this was kind of sneaky. Some engineers believing it goes everywhere. I believe it's very clear that they wanted extra steel here. Thinking as a contractor, you're not going to give extra everywhere. You're going to say, "Yo, man, you said, your notes make it clear, and you also identify a location for those notes in the plans." And it appears to go up to the first column, which would be the outside edge of the building at that location. On the two ends. Okay. So coming back to this. So we have this steel coming this direction. It staggers and shifts. The steel is acting like a transfer beam, if you can think of it that way, because even though they're saying it's a two-way slab, well, it's two-way in cockamamie diagonal steel. So diagonally loading when you're coming into here, I'm loading not just here, but I'm loading out to here, and then I'm loading on a diagonal. So if I load my vehicle here, it's pulling on, it's clearly not a cantilever. So I'm then transferring my load over to here, but how am I getting there? Well, it's direct, it's pulling direct, but across these steel members. But it's also loading between the two spans from here to here. And that's a large span, and it's only across the two rabbit ears and one piece of steel and the dead loading of the deck, trying to grab it. One steel trying to, and this is what I talk about pull out, trying to grab one piece of concrete to the next, like one link of concrete to the next in this embedded steel. I know this is a very complicated concept to visualize. I realize that. Let's see if I can do. I realize it's a very complicated one. Think of George, and I'll put that in the end link description, and show George how he loads on the metal, how it pulls in all the direction. There is no choice, but the steel is going to make the concrete want to behave by pulling in line with the steel. So it won't want to do imaginarily go off in a 45, if you will. It will want to pull on it, however, in that direction that the steel is placed. Now, main bars and talking about main bars and transfer bars, if you will, which transfers the load to the main bars. Let's think of it like that. Well, our steel is 16.5s and 19.5s, and then we come out there at 12.4s, and this direction is 10.4s. Okay. So our spans are about equal, but now they've changed it to 10.4s. So these fours come across, and they meet very close into this critical shear area, but at one point they go out, and they miss it altogether, and they're outside of it, this direction. But to grab it going from this side to here, they use an half-inch rebar because it says 24s, and that would be from center line to center line. So these are using number 4 rebars basically all the way out here. And there's 10 in this direction, there's 21 in this direction, and reduces down to 20 over here, 21 over here. It's a lot of half-inch rebar. Inside the parking garage area, that's where the failure happens. We really get dumped on. We're down to 11.4s between these spans, and we're down to 14 fours between these spans. Those 14 fours coming across are then picked up by these 16 number 5. So number 5 comes across, hits this steel here, but it's out of the critical shear zone if this is where they were intended to stop. I don't think they intended to go beyond that. They don't quite make it clear. But in here they have 14 fours. So it appears they would pick up the half-inch rebar from here to here, dividing by 14. It wasn't, it was not clear. He made it clear the center line steel was here for this. Come off the center line. This tributary area steel, I'm going to have to say it's center line also, so it's overlapping, which is kind of weird because in the span that works against me because now I have to increase the spans. It doesn't work otherwise. It doesn't work because he says 13-inch on center, and this is greater than the 14 times 13 inches. Over here he says 5-inch. That's an L shape. Number 5 rebar, 12-inch on center, and perhaps going out to where? It's a leg. It's a leg piece of steel. It's not clear how far it goes out. Nevertheless, this failed right there at the bottom anyway. That's a transfer of 1 foot 6 inches. So that's that 1 foot 6 inch. And it failed at the bottom anyway. You can see it. You see it in the parking garage video where I show the car kind of like greenish or bluish color, and I show you those legs there. I play around and explain those legs. A couple of them look bent straight, like they held on a little bit, and then some of them just look like they just broke free. Oh boy. So back here, we just run into the L shape into here. They're selling hooks here. But I also found L-shaped steel in another drawing. This just looks like it. This just looks like it just goes across. But oh yeah, there's a pad there. Perhaps is there an elevation? There's just a pad there. And then so this steel, this part of this, what do you call this? The A28. Jamie did the legwork and found A28. Jamie discovers that it is the what? It's the exercise room. The exercise room also 40 pounds per square foot. It didn't change. You do have some more, strength here, if you will, the 1 foot 6, but it also has a patio. It also has this loading from here, the planter boxes. Planter boxes probably want to keep their load sort of going across, pulling and stressing this area, but still got cars coming up, and they're pretty tight. Planter boxes are right up to. There's a planter box here also added. It looks like it presents a planter box, and you got the weight room here, exercise room, and a doorway here. So the doorway there means more loading across the header down to each side of the doorway. I believe there's a doorway here also. So again, more focused, concentrated loads on each side of the doorway. Doorway having a header and some block above it, going to focus its loading on each side of the transfer slab, the L shape. And then you got the whatever they put in there, these weights. I'd like to know what the weight room looked like. All we need to start this failure is just one edge failing. It will start pulling on this entire structure. You can see where you can find multiple locations where one edge will go, and it will start pulling using the steel to pull a drape on this entire outdoor structure. She went through here lobby, so we just can't say it's in this room because she went through the lobby and they left through the lobby. If this pulled down through there, I would imagine it would pull through the lobby here and make its way over to here, but it would have killed their escape route. Because their lobby, the corridor they call it, is on the other side of this where the beams connect. So I don't see anything stopping it from going there. Aha, very interesting, right? So we have a pool deck that went down. We have an area where it could go across and start pulling on the structure across this transfer beam, making its way into the structure and taking out the corridor till it made it over here. But we don't have that. So now we can start bounding our collapse, our initial collapse. So now we can say, okay, it didn't go there. It didn't kill the corridor because they left through the corridor. So now we have our planter box over here that's kind of level, all right? So we know it didn't go beyond the planter box at that point again, because now we're in their room. Maybe they're here, standing here, so they don't see the room go down. So, okay, so we can have the initial collapse of the parking garage and the car stop at this location. That did not go into here and start pulling down. We could have it theoretically go into here and stopping here somehow and hanging up, and that she would have never seen it because it's a wall there. But we won't go there. I don't think it went that far. So we have this pool deck and the parking garage go down. We have him stating he observed it. I don't believe that. So we have the planter box. I think he hijacked the mom's story when she ran to the end of the lobby here, looked out and saw that down there. Because his timeline is 45 minutes later, and he's leaving out a ton of details, and he seems to be edited by the news every time he's interviewed. He's not asked tough questions about simple things like, were you scared? Did you think you were going to go down? What happened? If apparently he might have failed those questions if they were asked, or if they weren't asked, that was the most stupidest thing not to ask. All right, tell me more about how you were scared and how it came close to your feet. What did you think was going to happen next? Did you think you were going to get out? No, they just sort of jumped to him now being the hero, and his version, he's waiting he's having them escape now, and telling them let's go. But the mom's version came out cleaner and first. It appears that she saw them frozen at the door and had to get her to come on along with him. They also appear to be talking about how they gave the phone number to the security guard that they call a male, and the security guard has no record. We have no record of the security guard in that conversation taking place besides from their side, their version of it. Now, getting back to it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's flighty. So now we have the pool deck coming over the construction joint. It falls. It goes this direction. The question is, did it break here and go down, and we see the flower pot here? Well, we see this one rotated. I believe our path is through here, and it stops somewhere about the construction joint. I have a problem with the video because it looks like some anomalies going on where it looks like concrete is in front of this column here, right to about here, approximately here. That means a break would have happened here, a clean break. And it also means I probably would have lost my BMA. Or my transfer slab was ripped off depending on how they jointed this, it pulled down the transfer slab is it in this one? It pulled down this section here. Now, it's possible to pull down this section here, and then it flipped it over. You see the decking here is 9.5 inches, and it has one piece of rebar tying it in, and then another piece of rebar tying it in a hook fashion, depending on how far that is as this went down. If this went down between the L and M, it could pull this down and flap it over, but I have to have it flapping over and around this L right here, this L column, and then stopping right about there. That's not quite where my construction joint is. I believe my construction joint is here, and the video presents like it's way back here, but I think the construction joint is out here, and that puts us pretty close to crushing a car. There's a car there. Maybe there was no car here. Maybe the car that we're looking at is another car that's over here, which allows my construction joint to go down, and the anomaly, I wish I knew a camera. I wish I had access to the raw file. And it doesn't have to be raw. It can be the original, not raw, like the literal raw. It's a raw file, guys. It has more information in it. Just the literal original file. It has more data than what's uploaded on YouTube or TikTok. All right, so this is what, and then I could go into it. So now that's been changed now to and so I'm sorry. So some people have that as the deck going down. Well, that's a pretty thick deck. It's 1 foot and it has multiple steps to it. So this has multiple steps. Let's look at those multiple steps real quickly. And as we look at them, we're going to do the pool deck. So this is the pool deck. We're going to grab another one, straight line. And let's change it to green. Oops. Green again. I want hard colors. Blue. And now let's do another one. And we're going to have to give it some thickness equal to the pool deck probably. So this one's going to be red. That is the 12'9" elevation. To connect these two together, they use a BMA, a drop slab, to connect these two together. And let's do another line here. I think I kind of like the idea of the showing the thickness. This is the pool deck. So this is deck, right? So this is the pool deck. That's an arrow at the end. And this is the 111. This is your lobby. So this is the lobby, right? Lobby, and also the 111. Also 1, 1, whoa, 1, 1, 1. That's also 111 here. And here's at 111 right here. Here's 1. So that's K, L, and M. This is where we get our collapse. So we have two beams here that will go down to the foundation. So they look like that, right? Let's just do that. Yeah, whatever you want it to look like. So if you like, I can have a little fun with you, you know, since we were like talking symbols. So that's your foundation. All right, this helps you remember it. That's your pier cap, and that's your column, and that's your column head, and your slab connects into it one way or another. You know, it's a transfer slab. It looks like it's supposed to connect with intent of this, but it's not continuous. The steel is not continuous. It uses they don't use continuous steel here. They use it in the format of, so if that's continuous, a bunch of links like that all the way down. No, they option for inside this section to here links. All right, so they said links from here to here, down to here. So let's talk about that. That means that their intent is to tie the two together. See the links going from here to here. So people ask me, how do they pour it? Well, if the links from here to here and up to this one, well then, you know, that's, they could stop the cold joint here if they want it, and then this ties it in tension, and this link here and here. But they option for that link design, and the rebar to be from this deck over, and then 1 shot in, and then from this one 2 shots in. So this one they option for, oops, I know I did. So this one they option for the link to go from the bottom deck to the top deck. These shear links, right? They work in tension. And so as this one tries, if the deck tries to fall down, it puts all this concrete in tension. And the resistance is right here for rotation, but also in the column. But it would be there if that tried to fall over the cantilever, because they created cantilevers basically between this section and this section. It's a cantilever, and there's a deck above it, and there's a deck below it, and the deck below is this is the lobby porch. So here's lobby back here, and here's, let's just move that back. Let's call this the porch so we can get that right. So this will be porch. Yeah, that didn't work out. So this would be their porch. And their porch is approximately, it's 12'9" elevation. It's approximately 11 right here, 11 feet. See 11 feet right here? Here's 11. And there's the 12, and there's the 12'9" right there. That's the elevation height. Down here is 11'10", so you're getting 11-inch elevation. So this is all done in 11 inches. Pretty compact. It was supposed to be done not 11 inches, but another foot, 1 foot, 11 inches. But so they made this shorter now. How did they make up for it in the beam? This beam here or steel? That's the question. How did they make up for the shorter version of it? I don't know. I don't know. This guy always had 40 pounds per square foot, so I can't imagine him upsizing too much. Although he did. Hey Georgie. You know what? I need to end the video because this one's getting too long and getting you sidetracked a bit. This is more about tributary areas. Oops. Tributary areas here, and how they don't line up. And this is my favorite one. This is my favorite one for the most stress. It's got the cars, it's got the planter box back here. It's the most stress. None of this steel. The steel is acting as they're using it. If one piece of steel centering off the center is acting like a beam, one section of steel is being loaded, being put in tension, which pulls on each one of these across the column heads, across all these column heads. This section here alone. This one comes here. It loads here. It's very close to this critical shear area, so this one gets a double dip a little bit because it does have, well, in this drawing, it has, let's see, so it would be, so planter box. The planter box is close to a lot of it's close to this critical shear area. So planter box is right, a lot of it is in the critical shear area of it, of the planter box going from here to here. A lot of it's loaded there with this extra steel, this supposedly extra steel. But remember, he said go work from the center out. So that means it's only one piece of steel across there and then one piece of steel across there. And then 13 inches on center. And even if it was 12 inches on center, it would still miss it because that would be a 6-inch mark. These are 12-inch columns. This one really misses it. It's a smaller column. Oh, that's the wrong column. This one really misses it. These two really miss it because they're 12-inch columns. That's 6 inches in the middle, and so you're going to miss it. You're going to straddle each side of it with your. You're going to go back to making what I told you, the cheese grater. It's going to be opposite side, and the only way it's going to tie into that are those two rabbit ears, which happen to be in the direction of the steel, not even diagonal. It doesn't represent. Well, maybe it does represent diagonal. Maybe I got to look at that again. Maybe it is diagonal. Do you guys look at that? A couple of them look like they're in line, but maybe I got to look at it differently. Maybe I should look at it and really see if the steel is represented on top of the column heads as we look to the top view here. Are they this? And you can't see down. We can't see down. Is it like this? or are they like this and that I'm looking at it on an angle incorrectly? So let's remove those. It doesn't appear to be 6. It appears we get a dab at 4. What makes this important is that this would then allow this steel out here to help transfer if steel was there. If steel was there, it would help it get back into the heads a little bit. And then we would have one piece of steel across the middle. Yeah. And then we would have one piece of steel here. And at least we would have starting to get a stronger critical shear area. But if these guys' ears are not, if they're like this, well, you can see that that's now not helping, is it? It's not helping as it could. And watch what I do there. It's not helping, really? Come on, dude, come on. It's not helping as it could. Because now we're like this, and let's move this over to 12. So I'm going to double my column, come out to there, and I'm going to move that one up. So they're near the end of the rabbit ears. Rabbit ears being only probably 14-inch turnout, so that would only be about 2 inches. Well, no, 6 inch on center, so 6, 12. Yep. So about 12, well, no, 14-inch turnout from where they were located, about 2 inches in. So that's 16 inches. So 16 inches approximately. So 16 inches, maybe 4 inches in. So somewhere about there. So the steel that's holding the deck up would look like around the tributary area would look something like this. That you get the one down the center, each direction, which means this would have to slide off this way or that way because we don't see this one there. But I do see quite a few times this, like it looks like a piece of string wrapped over top of it. So let's do that. And let me pull it back. I have seen that on a couple of the ferrule. It looks like it's whipped up in the air like this. I've seen that by the pool one, and it looks like this piece of steel is there. So it implies that, to me, it implies that a piece of steel was across the head, and then it just slipped off on the other side. And so it just slipped from this side and across the top, and when it went down, the rabbit ears are left. That they didn't fight much. They didn't fight much from one side to the other, meaning that he just slipped out of the concrete. They didn't have that engagement. All right, so this is what the critical shear area pretty much would look like. Hopefully this is somewhat helpful for you. And I'm going to end the video with that. And I know this was a complicated video and you might have to watch it a few times, but I want you to start thinking about that and loading and how each one of these they're not marrying up. That these bars, if you do this one and make it look like that, and then this one and make it look like that they're meeting on angles, that there's loads are torquing it. Just by loading your vehicle here, you're torquing on this damn critical shear area. You're creating a torque where there's no torque should be. It should just be pulling, continuously. And all this loading of the vehicles create torque action on all these tributary areas, which you don't want, because that helps you tear a tributary area apart. Take care. Bye.